I ended up very, very down about things. I had some awful thoughts result in very, very extreme measures, but I just thought, I just can't do this.
Hello guys, and welcome back to Naeem Drop and my Instagram live sessions. Hope you guys are keeping well. Hope you guys have had a wonderful start to the week. Can you believe it's only just Tuesday? I feel like it should be like Thursday or Friday by now. As you guys know, I'm going to have one of my good friends at It's Dapper Dad joining me, who I know as part of my optics world. So those of you guys that don't know, I don't actually model full time. I'm actually an optometrist too. So that's how I know It's Dapper Dad. We've been friends for about 5 years now within the world of optometry. And he got married about 2 years ago. And he's been a dad now for about 9 months, and which came as a bit of a surprise to me. He actually struggled a little bit with fatherhood, and he opened up to me a couple of months ago, and he started his own Instagram page as a bit of an inspiration and to be a bit of a spokesperson for fatherhood, and that life doesn't stop just because you become a father. And today I'm honored to have him on my Instagram live, and he's going public with a lot of the things that were quite personal to him when he found out he's going to become a father. So I really appreciate him actually joining me on this chat. So let's see if he's in the house, and if he is, I will get him in. And okay, I think it's looking good.
Does it look good?
I think it's looking good. Yes, so much better than it
Okay,
was.
wicked. As you can see, I've changed up everything. Hi, everyone. But yeah,
No, that is much better. Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
good?
Sorry,
That's
everything
right.
looks absolutely fine from my side. I'm trying to juggle daddy duties and
Oh,
Insta
thank
live
you.
duties, but no, we're good. We're good.
Thank you. First of all, okay, I think we've got a couple of comments saying that we're looking okay. So I think fingers
Awesome.
crossed, we should be all right. Third time lucky, third time lucky. But can I just say, first of all, a massive thank you for taking time out, because I know today's been your daddy duty day. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking time out and actually joining me on this Instagram live. Secondly, joining me for pretty much a third time because of the issues that we've had with the Wi-Fi, etc. So thank you for that. And thirdly and lastly, just a massive general shout out and thank you, because I know we had a phone conversation this morning about this live that we were going to do, and a lot of the things that we'll be talking about and we'll be discussing are obviously quite personal to you, and obviously are quite private to you too. So just the fact that you're doing this sort of raise awareness and kind of putting yourself out there so publicly with a lot of personal stuff, I really appreciate that. So once again, thank you so much for joining and agreeing to do this with me. So thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
I did give a bit of a brief introduction to yourself before I started the Instagram live in terms of how we know each other through the world of optometry. But do you want to, before we go straight into it with regards to talking about, you know, your struggles with fatherhood, do you want to just give everyone watching a little bit of a background to yourself,
Sure.
just to give everyone a bit of an idea, like how old you are, where do you come from, like, you know, how did you get into sort of married life, etc. So just give everyone a bit of a brief background.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. So my name is Waqaar. My Instagram page is at It's Dapper Dad. And most of my friends call me Zach, which is why you'll probably hear name calling me Zach quite a few times. Let's just get this cleared up right away. My son's name is also Zakaria, which just confuses things no end. So today, if you hear names say Zach, it probably means me. And if you hear him say Zach Jr., that will mean Zakaria. But yeah, as I say, my name is Waqaar. I'm 25 years old. I live here in the UK, originally Pakistani. I am an optometrist, and as name said, I am a new dad. My son is 9 months old. 9 months old today, actually. Exactly 9 months old today.
Happy 9-month birthday to Zach Jr.
Yeah, happy 9 months to him. And also, you are giving me a little bit too much on the marriage front. I'm only 18 months married, not 2 years. But we're coming up on 2 years, so
Close
we're
enough.
almost there. Exactly. Anyone who knows me knows I was not the person who wanted to be settling down early, having kids early. I was, you know, maybe quite typically of a guy my age. I was all about that quote unquote hustle lifestyle, you know, living the grind. I'm going to work hard and be a multi-millionaire by the age of 23 and drive a Lamborghini and have a 55 million bedroom house. And, you know, all those things that you aspire to when you're a young, immature teenager, pretty much was me. So at the age of 16, I got my first job. I worked at a local optician's just on the weekends along with school, and I continued that through until I went to university. So I went to university at 18. I didn't take any gap years or anything like that. Straight into uni, and I used to work or study Monday to Friday in Birmingham, and then I used to come down on the train back down here to near London where I live, work Saturday, Sunday, and then go back up on the train Sunday night and continue the process. So I was on a 7-day work week for a pretty long time, to be honest. I graduated a long time ago. I graduated in 2017, I think. And that's when I started
I love how you're like 2017, so long ago.
Listen.
I graduated in 2010, okay?
These 2 years have been like 20, okay? So 2017 was like 24 years ago. But yeah, so I graduated in 2017. And in optometry, you'll know this as well. You have a pre-reg year after your year. So after you graduate, you have a year where you're working full time. You are working as an optometrist, but every 3-4 months or so, you're examined by an assessor who will come in, have a look at your record cards, assess you, that kind of thing. And it is pretty tough because you're working full time and you're studying full time as well. So I was going through that, and it was during that year that a new audiologist started at the store I worked in. And we got to talking, and maybe I won't shed too much information on that, but yeah, we ended up engaged. So I qualified officially a year later, 2018. And then I spent the next year trying to pay for a great big Asian wedding. So again, I was working 6-7 days a week. The reason I explain this is because after all of that time working, when I eventually got married in August 19, I was pretty much ready for things to slow down. I certainly had a shift in my mentality. Some could say maybe it was slightly maturer, but I don't know. I had a shift in mentality in the sense that, you know, I wasn't so much about just working and working and working. I was very much ready for things to slow down a little bit. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to, you know, my wife and I are massive foodies, so we wanted to, you know, go binge and get fat at different restaurants and just generally take a chill pill and relax. And we maybe had that for about, exactly. And then about 3-4 months later, we found out that we were expecting our first baby. And that was a major shock. And yeah, it really hit me hard.
Now, before we just go into obviously finding out, you know, about you becoming a dad. So obviously, you know, settling down and getting married, that was all like, you know, brilliant. You were happy to go with the flow with regards to that. And, you know, it was a case of, it's not going to stop me. In fact, when it comes to things like traveling, being a foodie and doing all of the stuff that you were kind of wanting to do, maybe as a single person, you now had someone who wasn't really compromising it, but almost complementing it. So you were kind of going to work together and do all of that stuff together, right? So from what you're about to tell me, I presume that 4 months later, you kind of heard this big news that potentially changed all that.
Yeah, it was quite the spanner in the works. I mean, one of the things that we learn in a medical field is something known as the 7 stages of loss. And it effectively goes through the order in which someone who's given shocking news will slowly move towards accepting that news. And it doesn't necessarily work for everyone, but certainly for me in that situation and how I dealt with becoming a dad, I went through that whole thing. So the first stage is known as shock. And that was, as I say, exactly what happened. It was pure shock.
So I just want to put it out there, obviously, by the sounds of it, this wasn't kind of planned. Like, in terms of when it comes to family planning and things like that, you weren't thinking about having kids this early?
It wasn't not planned, put it that way. But certainly, if you'd let me write my path the way that I had anticipated it, it maybe wouldn't have been so soon. So one day I'd always wanted to have kids, but a lot later down the line, simply
Yeah.
put, not 4
So the
months in.
timing was a bit of a surprise, a bit of a shock.
Yeah, exactly. And hence the shock reaction. So, picture the scene, your wife of just a few months after all of that time, grinding and working and working, tells you you're about to be a dad, and then picture all the stereotypes that come with it, the sleepless nights, the loss of free time, the no longer being able to travel, all of those things that hit me very, very hard. And once you go from the shock, you go into denial. And that's exactly what I went into as the second step, which is I just didn't think it was going to happen. I just thought, no, it can't be true. It just can't physically be true. And from there, and this is what's a little bit crazy, I actually started to get quite jealous and quite angry. It sounds ridiculous, but I used to think to myself, how dare this baby who's not even born yet take away my opportunity to go travel? How dare he ruin this situation that I had, this perfect plan that I had going? And to anyone listening right now, I know that sounds shocking. I know that sounds awful. And just so you are conscious of that when you feel that way. You know full well that it is awful to be thinking that, but that's arguably what makes it worse. The fact that you do start to get these negative thoughts and this negative monologue in your head that says, this is the end of things. How dare this baby be the end of your life and your free time as you know it? But it does happen, and you do truly get those very, very negative thoughts, and that's something which is quite
Also,
difficult to try to deal with.
bear in mind, how old are
Hmm.
you at this point when you first found
So I
out?
was I was 23 going on 24. I think it was about a week before my birthday that I found out actually that I was going to be a dad. So I would have been 23 at the time,
Yeah.
which, yeah, it's tough for a 23-year-old. I maybe wasn't the most mature 23-year-old either. So, I'm basically a big kid, always had been. I felt like I needed parenting, let alone to be a parent to someone. It's a lot to try to take on. Um, and from there, all of those negative thoughts sent me spiraling into the next stage, which is depression. And that's where I ended up. I ended up very, very down about things. I was at a stage where I just didn't want to deal with it. I couldn't bring myself to deal with the situation. I had some awful thoughts, ones that I don't even necessarily think I should bring up here at the moment, but thoughts that, that did result in very, very extreme measures. But I just thought, I just can't do this. There's absolutely no way I can do this. But the one great thing about when you hit absolute rock bottom is that the only way is up. And that was what I found, was that when you hit that absolute rock bottom, you have a decision to make. Life will get you down. Life will break you. It will get you down. Your decision is whether you want to stay down or whether you want to get back up and you want to keep fighting. And then that's what I did. I decided that I wasn't done on this. I wanted to get back up and I wanted to keep fighting.
So you did all of these emotions just off the thought of having a child and bringing a life into the world, and almost dare I say it, quite selfish thoughts of my life is pretty much
Mm,
over. I won't be able to do the things I love, all of the things I wanted to do with my wife, and especially the early few years of my marriage, is all gone down the drain.
mm.
Literally made you feel so rubbish that it led you to a low point and a depressive point. And can I also just let everyone know that this was pre-lockdown, right? So this was before the lockdown even started. So, I
This
know a lot of
was,
people have been struggling a little bit during lockdown with their mental health, etc. But this was all
yep,
before that even happened. So it was more just a
exactly.
thought, as I said, bringing this life coming into the world, which means it would put a lot of strain on your personal time. I hope you don't mind me asking this, did the
Mm.
thought ever cross your mind that it might even impact somewhat on your married life at all? The fact that, maybe I was only 4 months into our marriage, I have enough time to spend with my wife alone, etc., before this child comes in who's gonna potentially take that over.
It definitely, I would say, it probably impacted it in a way. Uh, Maybe not in that sense. I don't think it necessarily put a strain on our relationship. The reason I don't think it put that strain is because actually for quite a while, it was the kind of thing where uh, it we almost didn't talk about it very much. My wife was working full time. I was working full time. it was the case where our days off didn't necessarily coincide either. Most days we both come back from work, we eat and sleep. If one of us had a day off, then by the time the other one got home from work, they were exhausted. We never really actually spoke about it. So maybe that was a blessing in disguise in the sense that it didn't put a physical strain on our marriage, but it definitely made things difficult for me. I almost thought to myself, did I make the right decision here? Did I make the right decision to get married so young?
And someone's just asked at the same time,
Yeah.
Ask0178377 has asked, how did your wife deal with getting pregnant? And secondly, did it impact her mental health at all?
Yes, it did, definitely. In terms of actually, just very quickly, that was another thing that actually impacted on mine too, was the fact that for her, you know full well that it's going to affect her mental health. It's almost like it's obvious, it's a given. So much about her is changing physically. She's having to deal with so much. And again, that makes you feel like you need to be there to support her, but you're not in a mental state where you can actually support her. And that just makes you feel worse because you think, how dare you be in such a bad mental state that you can't actually help her who actually needs your help? You don't deserve your own sympathy. She deserves your sympathy. So that was another thing that was very challenging. But for her, yes, it did. Masha, she's very strong-willed and mentally she's very tough. And actually, so many people talk about how, or so many women talk about how their husband is their rock. Actually, in that instance, my wife was my rock. She was there for me, and she was so strong. And she was one of the people who helped me get through it.
I mean, when did it hit you that actually I'm feeling this way and I need to actually actively do something about it?
So I don't know that it did hit me in a way where I said, okay, I need to actively do something about it. It's difficult. Mental health is tough because it does affect different people in different ways. For me, whilst I was feeling that way, and whilst it was probably quite evident through my mood and how I acted around people, and also I personally definitely felt down, I don't know that I had this moment where I said, I am depressed, I need help, I need therapy, I need to talk to someone, I need to get myself out of this rut. Rather, and again, if we go back to that loss model, the next stage is bargaining, which is to say, you start looking at the situation and coming to terms with it. And I think the acknowledgement of, okay, this is happening, what can I do about it? That was step one. Then going through and thinking to myself, okay, maybe I can't go out to dinner anymore, but actually maybe I can go out to lunch. That might work out better for timings with baby sleep routines and things. Sure, maybe I can't do a long flight anymore, but I could do a shorter one, local trips, that kind of thing. We can still travel, we can still do things. So that bargaining was the first stage towards acceptance and saying, okay, this is fine, I'm fine with this. The next thing was I started talking to my wife, and I set up a support network. Now, when we talk about a support network, traditionally that would mean, the quintessential stereotype of people sitting around in a circle, 30, 40 people, loads and loads of people, all there to support you, all there to help you. Not even close to what my support network was. My support network was probably about 3-4 people at most. And actually, some of the people who were in my support network didn't even know that they were in my support network. Sometimes it was just as simple as a conversation like the one you and I are having right now. But this normality, the fact that I'm still able to have a laugh with my friends and talk and do things that I would normally be able to do, even though I've got a baby on the way, helped massively. It helped me to realize, actually, you know what? This is okay. I'm going to be all right. Things aren't going to change that much. And then, like I said, I spoke to my wife. We spoke about things and we decided, you know what? As one last hurrah, because we won't be able to travel anymore, let's just go somewhere. Let's just go all out. This was about New Year's time, 2020, and we booked a trip to Dubai for a week. January 12th, we went. And you might even remember, I just randomly posted a picture in Dubai. I didn't tell anyone about it. There was nothing. I just randomly turned up in Dubai one day.
It all makes sense now because, normally when people go on holiday, there's, especially friends, there's like this big thing, oh, on these dates I'm going on, or you see them post like them booking the tickets or like them waiting at the airport, how social media life is these days. And I remember coming across, I think it was maybe your Instagram story or your Snapchat story, actually randomly in Dubai. I'm like, what? When did you end up in Dubai? But yeah, now you tell me, like, it all makes sense. You just needed that quick kind of getaway and just to like, yeah, get that last hurrah in before baby comes along, right?
So that's exactly what it was supposed to be. Yeah, it was supposed to be one like last hurrah kind of thing. Like we're not going to be able to do another trip for another 18 years, so why not? Let's just do it. And that's why it was so last minute in terms of how it went as well. But that trip was amazing for so many reasons. But largely it boils down to two. Number one, like I mentioned, my wife and I were both working full time. And so that week, other than our week honeymoon, was the first week where we really got time to spend with each other. You know, there was no other life getting in the way. There was no other responsibilities. There was nothing. It was just us in a random country in a nice hotel, just chilling out and talking. And that was actually where we had that conversation where we spoke about, you know what? Who says we have to conform to these stereotypes? Who says that we can't travel when we have kids? Who says that we can't go out to restaurants when we have kids? Who says we can't have nice things, do nice things? Who says? These are all made up rules by someone a very, very long time ago, and we just all go along with them as gospel, but they're not necessarily true. So that was the first big aha moment. The second thing was that we realized most of what we do, we can still do with kids. You know, we did a long 8-hour flight from London Heathrow to Dubai, but you know, maybe an 8-hour flight might be tough with a young child, but for us in the UK, there's so many trips to Europe. Like I mentioned previously, there are national trips. There's so many things that you can still do. It's not like you can't do that when you have a child. And so that's where the whole mantra of It's Dapper Dad came about. I'm out here trying to prove that life doesn't end when you have kids. It came about there and in that moment where we said,
So was it
to
almost
hell
like a
with it.
light bulb moment where
It
you were
really
like,
was. It really was. Now, I am very keen to tell you that, you know, just because I had this big light bulb moment doesn't mean it was plain sailing from that point onwards. Not by any means. Mental health affects you in ways where you do have ups and downs. And I don't want you to think that that progression was just linear straight up and all of a sudden I was okay and things were hunky dory. Not how it works. There were still days after that where I felt like I couldn't do it, where I thought that I wasn't ready. But I allowed my competitiveness to just take over and just say, right, this is me getting back up and fighting back and saying, okay, you know what, you know that cliche, just wait till you have kids? Just wait till I have kids. Just wait till I can prove you wrong. Just wait till I can prove that I'm going to do this my way and we're going to do this our way and we're going to do whatever the hell we want to do because we can. And
and you know what? I've got to say, this guy is competitive AF. Like guy, this guy is so competitive. So I like the fact that you use that to your advantage in this scenario. Out of our group of friends, like I'm just gonna put it out there. Zach is he is the one who's almost a know-it-all, right? So he's the one who's good at everything. He's the one who like knows everything. Like he's the one who's the first one to correct someone in the WhatsApp group chat. He's that person. So the fact that, and even when when the news of your wife's pregnancy and you being a child father, it's so interesting because when you put it out to all the friends, etc., and like you're congratulating you and everything, like we would have had no idea how you're feeling on the inside and all the thoughts and emotions and the feelings that you were going through. We would never have thought, I would never have thought, unless you hadn't opened up to me even just a couple of months ago, like I would not have thought that this was everything that you're going through. So, for you to be so open and vulnerable about it, and of course sharing this so publicly, once again, thank you. Because, and just to tell people that, on the outside, someone can have the most perfect life and they can come across very confident and secure and whatever it might be. But it's just fascinating what can be going on internally, right? And the other person or the third person may have no idea. And again, coming back to your whole thing of having that sort of a network of people, and sometimes you can even be there for someone without even knowing the ins and outs, right?
Yeah.
So you can even someone could be a support network and them not even know about it. So that's a major thing. So I think you would agree with me, sort of the advice to people watching, just be there for people. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's just to have a friendly conversation or a bit of friendly banter, whatever it might be, give someone a bit of normality because you have no idea what they might be going through on the inside. So, it takes a lot of courage for someone who is very strong-minded and very independent to actually admit that I am feeling these feelings and I'm feeling super low and I need help.
100%. No, totally. And being present is one of the biggest things that you can possibly do to help. Just moving back to my support network, actually, I said some people didn't even know that they were in my support network. It's not like you need to write down and establish a formal contract with this person and get them to sign to say, you are officially going to help me or anything like that. One of the things that helped me so much was actually just talking to my dad. Now, I appreciate the fact that a lot of people don't have their parents around, they don't have their parents in their lives. But for those of you who do, don't think, and especially in the previous generation where actually it was the norm to have kids quite young as well, don't think that your dad didn't have aspirations, and don't think that your dad didn't have dreams of what he wanted to do prior to having you. And it can be a little bit difficult sometimes. You don't always want to talk to your parents about your mental health. And I didn't. It's not like I came to him and said, Dad, I'm feeling really low. I don't think I can do this. No, we just sat and shared stories about what I was like as a kid and, what he was like when I was, well, in the lead up to prior to having me and that sort of thing. It helped massively because I think people believe that you have to go through this phase where you suddenly become a mature person and then you become a parent. Definitely not. I can promise you, definitely not. And, in my dad's case, and probably in most dads' cases, it's not like they suddenly, are suspended 6 foot in the air and then they come back down to earth again and they're just this mature parent ready made.
Yeah,
You're not, yeah, you're not gonna be perfect. You're gonna be a little bit rough around the edges. You're still gonna have that inner child inside you and all those things, and that's fine. And actually,
and I
just
think there is no age to it, right? Like when we were kids or when we were young, you just assume your parents are the most mature thing ever, and
yeah,
like they're the most sensible thing ever. And it's not until you become adults yourself and get into this stage of your life that you realize like my dad's in his mid late 60s, but he is not the most mature of people. And like
there you go.
there's some decisions that I make better than he does. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And little things like that. So absolutely, like I
of
think
course, he'd
you
never
mentioned
admit it, but
exactly because they're always right. Who else would you say was really there to kind of support you through all of this? I mean, with or without knowing.
the other one who was a big help was my brother-in-law. My wife's older brother helped me hugely. He's a young parent himself. He's a dad of two, and he's only a few years older than me. And actually, again, half the time he didn't know it, but his conversations he would have with me where he would say things like, oh, I didn't think I'd be able to do this, but actually I've managed to fit it in. And I didn't think I'd be able to do this, but actually I can. And all those things, again, without him realizing, he was helping hugely, hugely in terms of making me feel like, actually, yeah, I can do this.
Mm.
And I think actually there's probably the odd person here or there, the odd work colleague, the odd friend, the odd conversation and joking session that I'd have around with you from time to time as well. But that was probably it. And sometimes that's all you need. Again, you spoke about just being present for someone. Just having those people there to have those conversations when you needed them was so much more important than the number of people that I had.
And I think, it sounds like when you accepted it and you're like, this is what I'm feeling, and then you were open about it with even just two or three people, is
Mm,
where kind of the switch sort of happened. You also mentioned that it wasn't kind of like a linear thing, it wasn't a case of, okay, as soon as I had that light bulb moment, that I'm not going to let fatherhood change my life or if in a bad way, we're still going to continue doing what we want to do. But with a child now, it wasn't a continuous sort of progression of, yeah, everything's perfect now. You did still have ups and downs. So up until the point that baby Zach was born, on the whole, though, would you say you were relatively positive about the whole thing? And then when he did come along and you held him in your arms for the first time, how was that?
and it wasn't linear. There were still days where I struggled. Um, and actually, one of the things that really helped was lockdown, which is one of the things that a lot of people say negatively affected their mental health.
Yeah,
For me, it helped me hugely. It was a massive thing. It was really, really useful having that time off. In the UK, we went into lockdown in about March time. and Zakaria was born in May. So to have those couple of months prior, just to, get my head right, have those conversations. Looks like my wife's just joined the chat. To
For
have those
those who won't be able to
conversations.
see the comments when I upload on this on YouTube, I presumed that was when it came out. Hello, husband. So, sorry, hello, handsome husband. May I add?
Oh, thank
So
you. So that's
you
nicer
got
than
some
she's been to
support in
me
the
in
comments.
months. But yeah,
Why
so
is that everyone showers love on social media? You're like, I haven't had that in months, and now all of a sudden.
but yeah, honestly, I think it made a massive difference. One of the other things was the financial struggles. People don't talk about how expensive it is to have a baby, or maybe they do and I missed it. But things like a cot thing behind me there, a few £100. A good pushchair can be over £1,000. Good car seat, similar. When we went into lockdown, everything was closed, so we had no option but to take things secondhand. And actually, 90% of what we took was brand new, absolutely brand new. 90% of the things I've bought that are sitting here have never been used by Zakaria. And one of the biggest pieces of advice that I would give to anyone is take those hand-me-downs. Most of the time, they're brand new. And in terms of the financial stresses that it will alleviate, hugely beneficial, massively. I can't stress that enough. Take those opportunities if you get them. They help so, so, so much. And then in terms of the second part of your question with when I first held him in my arms, simple answer is no, actually. Again, I'm being very frank here. And a lot of people will look at what I'm saying and say, oh my God, how could you? That's your son, little child, you're holding him in your arms for your first time and you felt nothing. That is the truth. That is the honest truth. I didn't feel a connection to him immediately. A mum has carried a baby for 9 months, and the first time she holds him in her arms, it is, biologically speaking, a closer connection. But by being present, by being there, by, comforting that baby when they're crying, doing those nappy changes, helping with the feeding, being present during that time period over the next few months, that's what builds the connection between dad and baby. So now, do I feel a connection with my son? 100% I do. And he recognizes me now. And, when I come in from work and he crawls up to the front door and he's got a massive smile on his face, and that's that fairy tale scenario that you dream of when you first find out that you're going to be a dad. But don't be shocked if that doesn't come straight away. Because actually, in most cases, it doesn't. You do have to work at it to get there.
I imagine, especially as a guy, or as a man, you must have felt this pressure of, even though you might have been feeling low and down yourself, but that pressure of financially, emotionally, like physically, mentally, everything supporting your other half, right? And supporting your child that's about to come into the world. So surely that, I imagine, would have just added even more pressure to everything, right?
For
It's
sure.
not only you think about yourself, you probably have this feeling of like, I need to be the man of the house, and
Yeah.
I need to be strong for those around me. And how can I do that if I'm kind of almost breaking apart myself?
And part of that is real. We went from 2 salaries to 1, and that financially does play a part. Now, I'm very blessed to say that financially we don't struggle as much as some people might, but
Mm.
it's still difficult. It is still challenging. And actually, I think the hardest thing was trying to be there emotionally for my wife, because those first probably the first 6 to 12 weeks post birth are some of the hardest for a new mum, because there's so much that you're dealing with there. There will be times where you feel like, how can I possibly support this person emotionally when I'm in the state that I'm in myself? I'm not in a fit state to physically be able to tend for that person emotionally. Well, what I have to say to that is actually, again, just be present. Just being there to run upstairs and grab something, to be able to do that thing, to grab that thing, to feed that baby, to do that nappy change, whatever it might be. just being there makes a big, big difference. And then again, open communication. And between myself and my wife, if I was having a bad day and she was having a bad day, we just sit there and I'd say, I feel terrible because of this. And she'd say, I feel terrible because of this. And there's no judgment there. And because you have that mutual respect for each other and you know what the other has gone through, there's no judgment. It's all about how can I make you feel better? How can you make me feel better? And 99% of the time, it does work and you will get through it. Well, Waqaar was born with quite a rare blood condition called haemophilia. Now, haemophilia is a condition which stops your blood from clotting. So what that means is that if he cuts himself, the blood, the cut will just bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed, and it won't scab over for a very, very long time. And so if you think about that in terms of internal bleeding, like if he was to fall over, or, you know, in the way of like contact sports later on in life, any kind of internal bleeding, that could be very, very serious for him. So that's another thing which is quite difficult. Which baby sits around and doesn't try to regularly drop things on themselves every single day, every single second of every single day? So you have to be very vigilant with it. And that's another challenge in of itself. And, you know, like I say, it is quite a rare condition, but it is out there. It does exist. And it's just another one of these things where you've got to try to roll with it. You can't allow yourself to get into the mindset of, my life is so hard. Why did my baby of all the babies be the one to have to deal with this? It's more a case of...
Imagine you must be so overprotective, right? I mean, most parents are over the kids, but knowing that, you know, any kind of knocks and falls can have a major impact on him, it must make you really cautious.
You know, at first I was. My wife has a lot more knowledge with regards to the condition than I do because people in her family have had it in the past. Yeah. And so having her around was a major help. But also the team that he's under at the hospital at Oxford are a major help as well. And what I've realized is you can't wrap that child in bubble wrap. You know, you arguably don't even want to be honest. You don't want him to live a sheltered life where he just doesn't go out and experience anything anymore, where he's constantly just, you know, unable to explore, unable to grow as a child. He will fall over, he will hurt himself, he will do these things. It's about just trying to minimize them and about just trying to put yourself in a situation where you can protect him to the best of your ability without going over the top and wrapping him up in cotton wool.
But can you just give everyone a shout out about your new Instagram page and what it's called and what it's about, etc., please?
My kind of my main goal here on Instagram is to try to shed awareness or spread awareness on men's mental health, on married life, on being a new dad. It was going to be a vlogging channel initially. Because what I wanted to do was try to document every single day for a year in the life of being a dad. But I very quickly realized actually that not only is that unattainable for someone like me, but also not every day is going to be filled with joy and cliche busting, you know, extravaganzas where, you know, you travel around the world and you do all these things. You know, no one's life is like that. It's just not. So I decided to create this Instagram page at It's Dapper Dad is the page name. And like I say, the whole mantra, the whole point of the page is to prove that your life does not end when you have kids. So I am a big believer in look good, feel good, in terms of there's content there about dieting, content about exercise and fitness. There is, style advice, fashion advice on there. But also there's a lot of motivation, and I go into a lot of what I've spoken about today in more detail than I would have done in this live session with regards to exactly what I did, the techniques that I employ to get through difficulties and stresses. And when I have those lulls in my mental health, when I get into a negative state, how I get through those. So that's what the page is all about. I'd love you guys to all check it out. It is still very new. There is some content there, but it's growing every day. And yeah, I would love for you guys to check it out.
Guys, definitely check it out. Give him a follow at It's Dapper Dad. And this guy's pictures, He's giving me a run for my money, by the way. Like, he's gonna. When I introduced him, I was like, I know him. He's not in the modeling or fashion industry. I know him from the world of optics, but watch the space, yo. Life definitely doesn't end when you have kids. That's for sure. Zach, just on a parting note, is there any further sort of things that you would like to add, or any advice you would like to give to any upcoming dads? But not even that, but just any guys out there who might be struggling at all with mental health, or feeling a little bit low for any reason?
If there's one thing and one piece of advice that I can give you, it is take that first step, open up and talk to someone. Um, Whoever that person may be, you know, whether it is, oh, light's gone off, whether that person is a close family member, a friend, your partner. Sometimes actually it helps for it to be someone that you don't know too well, because it's easier to open up to someone when you don't have the emotional baggage of a previous conversation. But just take that first step. The fact that I am here, sitting here today, talking to you about this is proof that it will get better. It does get better. Stick with it. Talk to someone. Open up. Do what you need to do, but it will be okay.
And even if you continue to have low moments, that it's how you bounce back, right?
Of course, absolutely. Life is never at a high always. You know, there is a a religious quotation which says, "Verily, with all hardship comes ease." And that is something which I think is so, so, so true and so, so relevant, because it works both ways. When you're going through hardship, remember things will get better. When things are good, don't allow yourself to go too high and think that it's going to, you know, be this way forever and ever and ever. Because if you think you're going to live your life without hardships and struggles, I'm sorry, I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen. But it's about how you get through those. And you can and you will get through those.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm just going to add that your missus has written in a comment that you have a sick photographer. That's why your
I
pictures are so.
do. I straight up, I do, man. I do my own photo editing, but they need so little editing because she is an awesome photographer. Straight up. She's awesome, man.
Which, by the way, let's give her page a shout out too. So I know you've got your It's Dapper Dad page with
Yep.
your mental health motivational posts and your images, etc. What does the missus do?
So her page is at arlies.kitchen. And she is, like I say, major foodie and also an insanely good cook. So she's got loads and loads of recipes up, very simple step-by-step guides on how to do those. There's even a couple of recipes by me as well. So yeah, check it out for sure. Absolutely.
Guys,
Um,
definitely check it out, because I look at those posts and I look at those stories and I'm just like waiting for lockdown to be over so I can come around and try all of that
you
stuff.
gotta come round. You gotta come round, man. Yeah, for sure. No, honestly, she's awesome. I've already spoken about how uh, just what she does for me and how amazing a person she is. But she also happens to be an absolutely amazing cook, and her page is wicked. You got to check it out. You definitely got to check it
Hashtag couple goals.
out.
Mashallah, long may it continue. Zach, thank you very much. I really appreciate you opening up and being vulnerable so publicly. And I think it's fantastic that you're educating people and you're kind of voicing all of this so it can help others out there who might have been in a similar situation. I think mental health, especially men's mental health, is not often spoken about, and sort of the lows that we can go through and experience. And I think sharing is caring, and I think when people see others opening up, I think it helps them open up too. Just the amount of comments that have come through, even on this live, for example, and even when both of us have posted certain things on our Instagrams, the amount of people that's come to the DMs and say thank you so much, because it's really helped us open up too, and that's what we're trying to do here. So very big thank you, and keep up the amazing work. I obviously continue to look forward to your posts, and hopefully as soon as this COVID lockdown situation is over. I haven't even been able to meet baby Zach yet.
You
Oh,
haven't. You haven't. No, I also wanted to say thank you so much to you as well for giving me this platform to talk. What you're doing here is absolutely amazing. And giving people a voice to be able to speak about these things and to raise awareness about these things is what it's all about. So thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We have definitely shown each other a lot more love on this live than we ever
I
do
know, it's weird, isn't
person.
it?
I mean, you can't be good friends with someone, you can't be a mate with someone and not have your relationship just being about taking the mick out of each other, right?
I know, right? I
We're just
know.
like we're just being PC because of this live, but we
For
normally are
sure.
not with each other.
Go
But
back
so
to roasting
anyway,
each
I'll
other
leave you
soon.
to it. I know your KFC is waiting.
For
Thank you
sure.
very much. Inshallah, we will speak very soon.
Take care, man. See you.
Take
Peace.
care, man. Bye. Bye. That was my Instagram live with It's Dapper Dad talking about his experiences of being a first time father. Please give him a follow on his page if you don't already. And thank you so much for tuning in. I know in the past I've just been doing lives in with regards to model talk about the fashion and modeling industry, but that was my first ever live with regards to men's mental health, which I hope to continue doing more of. So stay tuned for that. If you guys have any feedback or any comments or even any questions, feel free to comment on this. I'm going to upload it on my IGTV and on my YouTube channel. So if you don't already, please follow and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is also called Name Drop, and continue to follow my Instagram page at Name Drop here. I will be back. I was going to say next week, but I may potentially have another live scheduled for later this week. I'm spoiling you guys with having 2 in 1 week. And of course, I will be back with my Male Model Mondays, every Monday on my YouTube channel with regards to some insights into the modeling and fashion industry. If there's anyone that you would like to hear from, any topics that you would like me to cover during my live, so please do let me know and I will try and get appropriate guests on board for that. Until then, guys, have a lovely evening and I will see you guys soon. Peace and love.